Hi everyone, Nanolog here. Welcome to this tutorial. Today we are going to learn how to make a ramming ability. So to start, when we hold down left click, we will initiate our ramming ability. And when we hit a wall, we will stagger. Yep. So let's get started. So in this project, I have set up 4 animations: the intro animation, the running, the hit, and the stagger. Alright, so first off, we'll set up our input. To open up this window, you press Ctrl P, and then I'll search for the input mapping context. Browse to the folder and create an action in the actions folder. Create an action, just call it primary for the left mouse button. That's all we need to do in there. I'll just add an IA primary to the input mapping context, left mouse button. And then open up our BP third person character. And we need to set up a few states. What we need is, let me go to the ramming folder. We'll need a enum class and progress state. With for state, none, starting, started, and stopped. This can be used for any other type of things. We'll define our variable, our progress state, ramming progress state. Ramming progress state. There you go. We'll call our primary input event. This is gonna go into the trigger section. We're gonna switch on the ramming progress state from the trigger. Okay. So when we're starting the wind up, we're gonna be in this state to activate the montage for the wind up. So just play montage. The skeletal mesh is this one. And none. And we want to play the montage in here. So we'll create for montage. And we want to use the intro. So that is this one. After that, we are going to set the state to starting, and on the blend out and on interrupted, we are going to set our state to started. And when it's interrupt, we want to set it to stopped. So we're playing our wind up animation right now. Let's test that. Okay. When we stop, we want to blend out the animation. So to stop the montage, you need the character mesh. get the Anim instance, and then call the montage stop with blend out. Plug that completely into there. And the blend out, we need something in here. Just use content intro. As our blend out. We'll just use content intro as our blend out. We need to set our ramming progress state. If we are stopped, we want to set it to none. Let's set our montage to a variable. That is the ramming intro montage. And we want to set our ramming intro montage in the montage start as well. We'll make a is ramming flag or drag out from the started. Promote this to a variable is ramming. And if it's false, you want to set this to true. And when it's true, we want the character to always move forward, so add movement input in the forward direction of the camera, so where the camera is going to be looking at. So we're going to get the controller, cast this to the player controller. Get the player camera manager, and that's the camera. Get the actor rotation from that camera, and then we split this. We only want the roll and the yaw value, so we'll just make a new rotator and get the forward vector, plug it into the roll direction, and the pawn is the self. Yeah, that should be alright. Okay, now when you try, you should go forward without even moving. So I'm not touching my input key right now. Yeah, alright. Now open up our animation blueprint. I opened the ABP menu because it has the functionality in there. Add another sequence here, and we want to call is ramming. Set that value here. From the character, we want to change this character. For the sake of this demonstration, I'll just use I'll just cast it here. Cast to this character. It's not a good way of doing it, but it gets the job done. So get the character and then cast that to our BP third person character. And get the is ramming. Comment that and just call it ramming. So now it's updating our ramming state. Go to the anim graph, drag out the main state and do a blend post by bool right here. So if we are not ramming, that means we are using our main state. Yeah. And if we are ramming, so that's the false, we will play the loop animation. This one. And we set this one to loop animation. Our ramming is on true, yeah. We just set that to false. And it should be fine. And when we ram, okay. Now we have to set the root motion to be true. And we have to set our fourth root lock to be true as well. Now the leg is not moving because our control rig is pointing down. So we just do here, we'll drag this one here instead. That should get rid of the control rig. Now it's not stopping normally because we haven't reset our is ramming to false when we start. So let's set that. And that's the wrong one. To false here. We have to reset our ramming state here as well. Don't think we need this. We can just remove that. Yeah, so our logic for starting the ramming is working. Now we need to define our smashable ball. Let's create a smashable wall here. A new folder, and let's use this as our example. I scale the random cube as a wall, and I select it. I go to the fractal mode, and then I click new. Go to that folder and create geometry collection, and uniform. So this is, so you're cracking it uniformly. So however you want your wall to destroy, like you set it here. You can set it to be a radial like this. So this works really well for like a punch. I'll just use the uniform for our purpose. I'll just fracture it. So now it's fractured. We're going to be using something called a master field. Drag that in, and we're going to set the delay type, the activation type. We're going to set the activation type to on ticked. So what this does is we can destroy the object when it hits the smashable wall, just like so. We're going to attach this master field to our capsule component. So when our capsule component hit something, it will create a master field at that location to push the wall. So we'll just grab the capsule component, we bind to the on component hit event. So when it hits the wall, when the player hits the wall, let's just create a event here, on hit, on capsule hit. When this hits, we're going to spawn the master field, so spawn actor, and then the master field. So we just set the spawn point to default, and then we'll attach this actor to our capsule component. Snap the target and keep world. We will unbind this component when we finish. Change that. And that's done. Now we want to set the master field as now promote this master field to a variable and call it destruction field. Now when we unbind from our capsule component on capsule hit event, we also want to destroy this spawner, the master field. So if the master field is available, if it's valid, then we want to destroy it. And now we also want to check if the field is valid here to avoid any race condition. And then we also want to check here, we'll move this forward, if the destruction field is valid, we don't want to spawn anything. So only if it's not valid do we want to spawn it. And then if we look at the master fields, the activation type by default it sets to delay. We want it to be on trigger, so we'll change the activation type here. Set activation type to on trigger. When the player rams into the wall, we want the field to be bursting to wherever the player is looking at. Right now it sets to the radial activation. Right now it's set to the radial vector. We want to use the directional vector here. To override the default, use radial vector to be false, and then we want to use the directional vector instead. And then we want to override the directional vector. Override this one. We'll have to enable this one first to override it. So use override directional, set directional vector override. There you go. And this directional vector is the forward vector of our capsule component. So from the capsule component, we just grab the forward vector and set the magnitude. Right now it's 1200. We'll set it 1200. And then after this one, we want to bind it to another event from the capsule component. We'll call it we'll call it on character ram something. We'll cast this to the geometry collection actor, and then we want to check if it's valid still. It's just a safeguard. We'll change the activation type to on tick instead, and then we want to destroy this geometry collection actor. Let's test it first. We want to set the magnitude. It's like 500. To be a reasonable size. See. We want to unbind this event when we're finished. So just copy that there. When we destroy the actor, we want to unbind it. Now, you see how we still have collisions for the mesh? It's going to look weird when we have collisions like that. So let's disable the collision. So right here, in this event, we want to set the collision from the geometry collection actor, set per level collision profile name. I'm going to make an array. So this is to accommodate for other mesh that's going to have 5 levels of fracture. But for our purpose, it's only 1 level. We're gonna set it to destructible. Let's check the collision profile and see if it's ignoring our pawn class. It's not even ignoring our pawn class. We just put it to ignore. That should work. There you go. Now the character is acting weird here because the control rig in the animation system is still tracing for the legs location. For the purpose of this tutorial, we're not gonna do anything with that. We're going to set this to null when we finish destroying it. Now we're going to fix our last problem. So when you're starting your wind up, you will have your foot slide. We'll disable our movement input when we start the introduction montage. So get the character movement, disable movement, and from there we want to enable the movement back when we complete it. Set movement mode back to walking. We also want to set this to walking too. And it works. Now we have one final crucial problem. The directional vector is not working as expected. It's not pushing forward. We need to change one more value here. Directional. The set override directional vector. Set it to true, and it should work. Boom. Yep, it works. Now we need to trigger the animation when we hit a different object. So on the character ram something, we'll put a sequence node here. Actually, we'll put a sequence node after the is valid. And this one is. So break the hit result. We get the hit component collision object type, and then we're going to switch. Okay, so when we hit a wall, that's either the static or the dynamic. We want to play a montage. So this is a wall, and this one is the person. The montage that we want to play is the hit montage, or when we hit a wall we want to stagger actually. Yep. And when we hit a person, we want us to hit. Actually, we'll put this before. We'll put the sequence before. So when we hit a wall, we stagger. Let's set that to root motion. Force root lock. This one, we don't need the root motion on this one. We'll create another boolean to block new hit. So we don't, since this is running every frame, we are hitting something. So when we hit something already, when we play this montage, we don't want to be playing this montage again. That would be overriding it. So before this, we want to only do this if we should not block UHIT. And we would also want to be removing our RAM. Let's set a timer by event here, and we'll do the event reset block UHIT and set that to false. So right now we have another problem. So when we are ramming something and we hit, we're not playing our stagger animation. That's because when we're holding our left click, it's going through the loop animation. It's still going through this line instead of the stagger. So it's overriding the stagger montage. So what we do is we just set it to stop. So right here we set the ramming progress state to stop. That way it doesn't do anything unless we lift the left click, and it will set the ramming progress status to none, which will trigger the ramming again. Yeah, so let's test that. And stagger. So we lift our finger and then we do it again. Yeah, so it worked. Now if it hits a smashable wall, let's see. If we are hitting a destructible, we don't want it to stop the ramming. We want it to go forward. So let's do this instead. There you go. Hit the wall. We stop. There you go. Nice, it worked. If this video helped you in any way, give me a follow, subscribe, and you can download the project file from my Patreon. See you in the next video. Bye.